Hey folks, this is Phil Blount. I'm president of Icons. And as you know, part of our objective at the University of Racing is to educate. And we are thrilled today to have with us current NASCAR driver David Ragan. And you think, okay, Phil, you guys do history. You do all the old cars. Why is David Ragan on there? Good question. David gets it. David's one of the few, I think, of the current drivers that truly understands, appreciates the guys and the cars that made this sport what it is. So what a great guy to talk to get a current as well as a historical perspective. But I thought it'd be kind of neat to kind of talk to David about David too as well, because he's a great guy, very interesting, and I know you're going to find this information of great interest to you. David, where are you from?
So I'm from a small town in Unadilla, Georgia, kind of in the heart of peanut and cotton farming country in middle Georgia.
Well, I got to tell you, I looked up your hometown, and I couldn't say it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, Unadilla. I think it's an old Indian tribe name or something. So a very small town.
And it means gathering place.
That's right. That's
okay,
right.
There you go. How big is Unadilla?
3,000 people,
3,000
maybe 3,500.
Okay, and it's in what part of the state?
So it's right in the middle part of the state, right off of I-75. We're 60 miles south of Atlanta, and no McDonald's, no fast food. We do have a Dairy Queen and a Subway, so that's kind of our claim to fame.
And I saw you had a prison.
Yeah, we do have a prison, so that's where some of the bad guys go.
How was growing up in a small town like that?
It was great. I mean, I could go out and ride my bike, and
right.
I knew that I had to be back by dark or by supper time, and I would get 6, 7, 8 miles away from the house, and we would hang out with our buddies and had a lot of fun growing up. My dad owned a parts store and a machine shop, so he was always real busy racing some, but then running the parts store, and I would work some after school, but I really enjoyed being around some cousins and friends and family that lived in the little town, but it was a close-knit community and still is today.
Do you still have family there?
Yep. So I still have an aunt and a few cousins and one grandma that still lives in the area, so I still go home pretty often.
Well, I grew up in a small town of 500, so I can relate to that. Now, did you, in high school, did you play any other sports or?
I did till high school, and when I was 16, 17 years old, I kind of had to make that decision. I was racing some, and racing's very expensive, and so my parents didn't have a lot of extra income, and my dad made me make that decision whether I'm going to, stick hard with school and go to college and goof off and play some other sports, or am I going to take this racing thing serious? And so I quit playing all other sports. I did just enough in school to pass and graduate, but I thought about racing 100% of the time.
And I understand from reading about some of your background there, you started racing at a young age.
I was 12 when I started racing, and so it was a family sport. We went off as a family on the weekends, and I enjoyed tinkering and being hands-on to my race cars. Obviously, near Atlanta Motor Speedway, I raced a lot of Bandolero cars and Legends cars, part of the U.S. Legends car program. So I raced a lot here in Charlotte. I even went out to Texas a couple of times and raced as a young kid. So I had a lot of fun racing the Legends cars.
And I'm going to guess, but I'd like to hear more about it, if I could, how you got involved in racing so young, and why that interest was there so much at an early age.
Yeah, my family's got a long history in motorsports. My grandfather owned race cars that raced on the beach in the 1940s in Daytona Beach. He never drove the cars, but he was a mechanic, and he owned the cars that a lot of guys drove all around the state of Georgia, up into South Carolina, and like I said, even on the beach in the 40s and 50s. And then my father started racing some in the 70s. I had a couple of uncles that also they raced some at the local level, and then they decided they want to go NASCAR racing. So my father, in a car owned by my uncle, went and that ran numerous NASCAR races in the 1980s. And so when I was born, I grew up hanging around the race shop, going to the racetracks on the weekends, and Dad ended his NASCAR career in the early 90s, but still raced some local stuff around the short tracks of the state of Georgia. So it was a treat, and it was a reward for being good in school and getting good grades,
right,
that I could tag along with Dad to go to the racetrack at a young age.
So it literally was in your blood.
I've enjoyed it, and I've been very hands-on. I always enjoyed tinkering on the cars and just being around the race shop, the racetrack, traveling with the guys. It was something that I look forward to at a young age.
Well, you just said tinkering with the cars. That's why you seem like a throwback. I mean, like all the guys in the era that we're making cars, they worked on their cars and not just drove, but they were out there hands-on as well.
Yeah, I have a passion for everything around the motorsports world. The racetracks, the business part of it, but also the race cars and the engineering and everything. And I think some drivers today just like being a race car driver, and that's perfectly fine.
Right.
We've got to have everything to make this world go around, but I enjoyed working on the cars as much as I did driving them when I was younger.
Right.
And I would have been perfectly fine going to school and getting an engineering degree and trying to work my way up and be a crew chief or,
right,
or a race engineer for one of these race cars, or even at the short track level. I still enjoy being hands-on, working on some of my race cars, going racing on off weekends. So I enjoy driving, certainly as a passion, the competition, but I enjoy everything about motorsports.
Everything about it. Curious, growing up, did you, other than your dad, did you have a favorite race car driver that was kind of like
I pulled for Bill Elliott because he was a Georgia guy, and,
yeah,
and being from Georgia, he represented the
right,
state pretty well. But I was a big Dale Jarrett fan, so I liked Dale when he was driving for Robert Yates Racing in the late '90s. They won a lot of races, won the championship in 1999. So I was a big Dale Jarrett fan.
Yeah. Well, I told you, I think, when we started, how impressed I am with you for a lot of reasons. One is you understand the history and you get it. Two, family is very important to you.
Yeah.
And you've talked about your mom and your dad and your aunts, but also your current family.
Yeah.
And I'll be one of the first to say, probably not the first, but one of many that have said, just like myself, you way over Mary.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you folks haven't seen Jacqueline, but beautiful lady, and the more you get to know her, she's even prettier. And you've got two beautiful girls.
Yep, that's right. So Jacqueline and I have been married for almost 4 years now, and
wow,
2 kids, and life is good. She's a meteorologist, but she's kind of a stay-at-home mom now, so she's got a degree in meteorology. So whenever I'm done racing, she's going to go get a job, and I'm going to stay at home with the kids. But no, she's a good girl from South Carolina, and she wasn't a big race fan growing up.
Right.
She knew a little bit about racing, but when we met, I can't remember, maybe Charlotte was her first race she'd ever been to.
Wow.
And so she's fallen in love with the sport. She enjoys watching certainly the races I'm in, but some of the other races too.
And the girls?
Yep, 2 girls, Julie and Meredith, and they're growing up quick and keeping us busy, and they're healthy. And my little girls, they like to go fast, and I'm going to try to buy them tennis rackets and golf clubs because racing is very expensive. So
yeah,
I'm going to try to save a little bit of money when they get older.
Is it hard? I mean, your schedule is crazy. Is it hard being the dad you want to be?
It is, yeah, because I think in this world, I want to be a good husband and a good father first,
right,
before anything else. And so motorsports, like any job that you take serious, it's a large commitment, and it's not just a couple of days a week going racing. You're doing appearances, you're traveling, you're doing things for your sponsors, for the manufacturer that you
people
drive
like
for.
Me trying to
but it's a part of it, and so I enjoy all of that, but there's not enough hours in the day sometimes. And so I think that while I'm young and I have the energy, I'm going to go all out and go as hard as I can. But at some point, I do want to pull the reins back a little bit and just be a normal husband and father. And I think that's hard because I've seen some guys that were very successful in racing. They didn't have a good family life, and I think they'll be the first to tell you that. So I don't want to make that same mistake, and I may give up a few good years of my driving career, and that'll be okay to stay home and be normal.
Well, that's impressive, and that kind of leads me to the next question. Another thing that impresses me a lot about you is your faith. I know your faith is important to you.
Yeah, I grew up. My grandma lived right next to the small Southern Baptist church where we went to church, and so we played there all the time. And growing up in a Southern home, church was something that was just a common thing that we did. Every Wednesday night, every Sunday morning, every Sunday night. That's where we were at.
Right.
Sometimes a little late because we got home late from the racetrack, but we made it. But yeah, over the years, I think that's something that's important. That there's a lot of distractions in this world, but one thing that's consistent from day one is God the Father is our Father, and He's someone that if you don't have a good relationship with, your life's going to be tough. And so, that's something that I can use my platform of a NASCAR racer and traveling around the country to try to, set a good example for other young kids and maybe young husbands or young fathers that, they can have a good relationship with God. And, if you walk with Him, I think that your life may not be easier all the time, but it'll be more rewarding for sure.
Right. And you do a great job of that.
We try. We try.
Well, this is kind of a silly question in that, as busy as you just told us that your schedule is, what hobbies do you have? I know you've mentioned how you like to tinker with cars and stuff. Are there any hobbies outside of automotive or engine that you...
I'm an outdoorsman. I love hunting. I love fishing. I have some hunting property down in Georgia. So as a kid, I really loved deer hunting. But as I've gotten a little older and more impatient, I'm more of a bird hunter and waterfowl kind of guy. So I don't like to sit up in a deer stand for hours. I enjoy quail hunting, upland bird hunting, duck hunting in the winter months. So.
Do you have dogs?
I don't, so I go with people that have a dog. I do have a dog, but he sleeps on the couch, so he would be scared to death of cold weather and gunshots. He is by no means a hunting dog, but yeah, I enjoy the outdoors. But yeah, if I had totally free time, I would go to my shop and work on some projects, old cars that I have. I still have a few race cars of my own, so yeah, I would enjoy doing that.
You've probably forgotten this, but one time you came to one of our studies, Bible studies that we had, and you said, "Come on out here, I got something to show you." And you have, I don't know if it's original, but I want to hear the story. An Andy Griffith, Barney Fife, Mayberry,
that's right,
Sheriff car.
Yep. So it's not one that was used on the show. I don't know if any of those are still around. Okay. Maybe Barney was a little rough on them and tore them up. But it's a replica, but it's a 1960 Ford Fairlane that is a complete replica as we can make it. It's got the long whipper cable, the CB, the old radio, the bubble gum light on top, and the old school siren. So yeah, I'm a fan of the Andy Griffith Show. I still watch it some today, and living here in North Carolina, the town Andy's from is just right up the road, Mount Airy, North Carolina. So yeah, I bought that car, and it was green. It was a police car when I bought it. Topeka, Kansas. But we were able to redo it, repaint it, we re-chromed it, pulled the engine out, kind of went through it, and it's a fun car. I enjoy riding around and having a little fun with it.
It is so impressive. It really is. I'm a big fan as well of the old black and white Andy Griffith.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, the colored ones aren't that good. I like the
you
black
gotta have
and whites.
Barney at his prime.
Yeah.
You have any favorite episodes?
I can name a bunch of them. I like any of the ones that Otis is in, the town drunk. I think he's a good character, but I like the one where the billy goat eats the dynamite in town, and so Barney's trying to walk him around. They're scared to death that he's going to blow up, and there's a bunch of good ones.
Okay, all right. Tell me about your older brother, Adam.
Yep. So I've got an older brother, Adam, with Down syndrome,
Yep.
and he's a couple years older than I am. But yeah, he's healthy, a good kid, and he wouldn't want you to say a kid. He's a man.
Yeah.
But he's probably one of my biggest fans. But
Yep.
he's a big racing fan and professional wrestling fan. So when it comes to wrestling and racing, that's his two things. But he works hard. He works at a Chick-fil-A back home in Georgia, and
Yep.
he comes to a lot of races around. So he's a good guy. It was great growing up with a brother with a disability. You learn how to treat them just as equal as you would anyone else, and they're a lot of fun. And I've learned to enjoy having Adam around, and he's certainly an inspiration for all of us that are healthy and that can do the things that we want to do. And it's neat to have a family member like that.
I'm going to bet you're an even bigger fan of him.
Oh, for sure. The things that he can do that, it's maybe a little uncomfortable, or it's something that, it's a big thing when he learns how to write, learns how to read, do things that we kind of take for granted. So,
Absolutely.
It's good that, someone with a disability like that can live a normal life and develop way beyond what they were expected to.
And I'm going to bet he's a big reason you're the great guy you are.
Yeah, he keeps you grounded. And when you see, children like that as a kid and they grow old and turn into an adult, again, it makes you really appreciate the things that matter. The trophies and the money and the material things, that they all go away at some point, and you only have what's inside and your family and the things that are important. So those are definitely things that it's hard to learn over the years, and the world that we live in doesn't want you to think that way.
Right.
They want you to think everything's about
Materialistic.
how many people are watching your TV show on TV, and how many internet followers you have, and how foolish you can act. So I think by having a brother with a disability, you're like, hey, some of the important things are just being healthy and having a good family.
David, I can't thank you enough for giving us this time. I know you're awfully busy. You're getting ready to race, and
Yep.
we wish you the best, not just at this race in Charlotte, but the whole year and your future. And I know you got a bright future. Thank you for your support of University of Racing.
Yep. I've got a few of your cars, so I'd say my favorite is David Pearson's Mercury Cyclone, the 71. I don't think I have that one. I've got a Ned Jarrett one. I've got a couple of Bobby Allison cars, but I think that's one of the real racy looking cars.
Is.
When you think about,
it's one of my favorites.
Like the old school, American made, pure stock cars. What we're racing today is far from a stock car. We can call it a stock car, but man, those cars in the 60s and 70s, those things were awesome, and I enjoy a lot of them.
Do you almost wish maybe you'd have been born a little bit earlier?
I do. I wish I could have raced some in the early 90s. It was real racing in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and those guys, they didn't get paid a lot.
Right.
It was very unsafe. They got hurt often, and it was tough. They didn't have airplanes they were hopping on, flying back and forth around the country. They didn't have motorhomes they were staying in, and so it was a lot harder. I'm very grateful that I've raced in an era with safer barriers, with a Hans device, and we get paid a lot of money too. Yeah, absolutely. And so those guys that paved the way for us, we should be giving them a check every month to say thank you for paving the way, because they deserve it.
Totally agree. Thank you for your time, and
Thank you.
Again, good luck to you. And we'll see about that number 21.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can get one of them.
Okay. Thank y'all.